This video explores some of the most vile and creepy parasites. Wasps that turn cockroaches into puppets, sea slugs that use crabs to lay eggs, and a disgusting worm that controls the consciousness of snails. A subscriber sent me a disturbing photo that allegedly depicts his longtime girlfriend with a strange parasite crawling under her skin. The image is incredibly disgusting and unpleasant. However, before assuming it is real, inspect your own hands to reassure yourself. I suspect the photo is fake. The monster under the skin has a very strange shape. How could it have gotten there? Someone likely found a small octopus online and photoshopped it. One parasite I do not doubt exists is the royal leech that inhabits the Amazon. Unlike other leeches, it has gigantic teeth relative to its body size, allowing it to happily cling to mucous membranes and drink blood for days or weeks. Other leeches feed and fall off their victim quickly once satisfied. At birth, the royal leech is not terribly large, measuring about 25 centimeters long. However, if they find a host, they grow substantially, up to 7 centimeters. These creatures often enter the human body through the nose and make their way to the rectum, genitals, or attach to the eyeball. Their waste products accumulate, worsening the victim's condition. Soon the victim experiences bleeding and coughing. Prolonged feeding leads to anemia. Without diagnosis and removal, the person's health declines rapidly. The sand flea, like all parasites, feeds on blood. It penetrates the skin, usually the feet, causing illness. Left untreated, bacterial infections and amputation of the affected area can occur. Avoiding a sand flea is nearly impossible. They are tiny at 1 millimeter long. The main danger comes from the females. While males bite like typical fleas, females embed in human skin after fertilization to reproduce. As her abdomen grows over 2 weeks, consuming more blood, she causes severe pain and itching. Up to 200 fleas can then be born outside the body. People still risk contracting tetanus. As you can see, many creatures happily live inside people as parasites. But nature does not just prey on humans. Animals suffer as well. One example is the caterpillar wasp. It stings and paralyzes moth caterpillars, injecting toxins and laying up to 80 eggs inside. The toxins prevent the caterpillar from pupating, keeping the larva safe. Eventually, they eat their way out, while the caterpillar remains alive, protecting them until its final breath. The emerald cockroach wasp exerts control over roaches. It attacks and delivers 2 quick stings, first to paralyze, then to subdue its victim for easier transport back to its lair. The roach puts up little resistance as the wasp overpowers it. And the second bite is inflicted on the cockroach's head, or rather on the brain. From the awareness of this alone, goosebumps are already running through the body with such a cruel method. The wasp introduces a special substance blocker into the cockroach's body, which does not allow the victim to understand everything that is happening. Since the wasp herself is small enough, she could not drag the cockroach to her home, so she simply takes it by the antennae and, like a dog on a leash, drags it towards the house. Even though the cockroach doesn't understand anything, it can move. Therefore, the wasp succeeds. Without any problems, once in the lair, the parasite lays on the belly of the cockroach its few nests, consisting of 1-2 mm long egg, in order to protect its cockroach from the accidental attack of other insects. The wasp blocks the exit from the lair with small pebbles. Now, when the wasp offspring hatches, the cockroach will become for it both a home and a living dining room. The most terrible thing is that the cockroach remains alive this whole time, and as scientists say, it even feels that it is being eaten from the inside by sea slugs. This is the name of one of the deepest sea fish in the world that lives even at a depth of 8,300 m. For the first time, they learned about extremely deep sea inhabitants in 1953. Until that moment, no one could have thought that at such a depth someone could exist. At least in theory, depending on the depth, the fish can have different appearances. But the most interesting thing about them is not even this. The fact is that the females of some species of sea slugs are parasites of Far Eastern crabs. Yes, these fish can be parasitic. True, they don't eat anyone but use other sea inhabitants for their own purposes. In particular, they throw their eggs on the crabs. It may seem like there's nothing wrong with that. They threw the eggs off and that's it. Think about the conditions. Good babies are born healthy there. Everyone is happy. But this is not entirely true. In reality, as scientists have found out, Such a solution from sea slugs negatively affects the crabs because the eggs get between their gills, causing necrosis of these tissues and then death of the animal. Yes, this doesn't always happen, only about 30% of the time. But nevertheless, the crab's chance of dying is too high. Saculina, I don't even know what's better, to die like a crab that carried someone else's offspring, or to become a victim of a saculina that enslaves you and zombifies you. Saculina is a representative of the barnacles family of rootheads. She does the same thing as all parasites. She lives at the expense of others. But how does she manage to do this? To understand this, we will have to start from the very beginning. Having been born, she comes out of the egg and swims in the water column. Then she understands that she needs to find and gain a foothold on her future host, the crab. Before deep penetration into the victim's body, the lady gets rid of almost the entire body. She will no longer need it. With her sharp spike on the head, the saculina makes a hole in the crab and launches a group of its brain cells into the crab's body. All of them settle on the digestive tract of the victim and begin to divide, forming the body of the parasite. Saculina begins to literally sprout in the poor thing, but that's not all. She takes away the reproductive function from the crab. In the end, the victim of the parasite turns into a living puppet, but she is not destined to die quickly. Even on the contrary, the infected crab begins to live longer than its healthy counterparts. Leuca chloride. The next parasite that we will talk about is paradoxical. This is not at all an exotic and rare species of some kind of snail. These large green horns are nothing more than that. We'll continue to explore other unusual creatures. Riding a motorcycle across Africa offers adventure and opportunities to explore. But you may encounter threats, like nearly colliding with giant Goliath beetles. 5 species exist, some nearly 11 centimeters long and weighing 50 g. Considering the beetle's size and speed, an unlucky collision could be deadly. Their confidence comes from their size, yet flying requires effort. To take off, they warm their bodies to 35 degrees C over 10+ minutes. Their hefty bodies also demand substantial energy, found in fruit sugars whether fresh or rotten, left behind juices, etc. Goliath beetles mainly sit on trees, only taking to the air to find mates. Their sense of smell aids the search. Thick shells provide protection, but their gigantic strength is more amazing. They can lift 850 times their weight. They also defend with a whistle by releasing air from tracheal openings, creating a characteristic sound. In some cultures, Goliath beetles are prized decorations made into keychains. However, illegal trade has caused local disappearances. Ants also pretend to play dead, usually to defend colonies rather than individuals. Scientists accidentally discovered this inspecting a colony. They thought the ants were dead, but then one moved, soon followed by the rest. The triggers behind this behavior remain unknown. Some take time to revive, while others instantly pose convincingly as dead. When moved with a twig, they'd come to life temporarily before resuming their death-like states. Next is the bombardier beetle. Despite reaching just 1 centimeter long, it can attack enemies with boiling hot chemical shots, heated internally to 100 degrees C. The explosions defend it from predators. Amazingly, it releases these blasts through a rear cannon, with enough power to disorient threats. This buys seconds for its escape. The beetle can also adjust shot temperature based on the attacker. If a fast enemy approaches through sand, it'll fire a hotter blast to temporarily incapacitate it. Notably, the bombardier issues a warning cry before firing, cautioning the opponent of imminent danger. This is done to give him another chance to retreat and not attack, since the bombardier beetle uses its liquid only as a last resort. Water strider, on the contrary, during research Australian territory, scientists noticed something strange in the water. Unlike anything else, coming closer, they saw a beetle, but not an ordinary one, and the one who walked along the lower side of the surface of the water. From time to time, this creature stopped, and then continued its march again. According to the first assumptions, it could be a beetle known as a water beetle lover. However, it is still unknown how he managed to move along the lower surface of the water. Researchers suggest that the answer lies in an air bubble that is stuck on his inverted stomach. The body of the beetle is covered with many tiny hair-like structures that allow it to capture air, especially on the stomach and legs. This air can create an upward lift, the strength of which is enough to press a beetle to the surface of the water. Now I want to show you amazing baby animals that you will see for the first time in your life. Sugar glider. The first guest of our issue lives in Australia and is listed in the Red Book. These babies have incredibly soft fur and a charming face themselves. These gregarious animals are active at night. However, if they have decent company, they will not mind changing their usual regime for the sake of relationships. Sugar gliders or cravings are called because of its addiction to sweet flower nectar, pollen, sweet tree sap. All this the animal consumes with great pleasure. At the same time, the craving lives not so little. 8 years in the wild would be quite a normal age. At home, the animal can live all 10 or even 15 years. Speaking of the house, if any of you think that such exotic animals are aggressive, you don't have to worry about the sugar glider. The sugar glider can bite you only if you scare it too much. And then, this is only possible in the first days, when the pet adapts to the terrain. And in general, there is no need to worry about this animal. It is far from stupid, and reacts well to the intonation of voice. It is quite possible to teach some simple commands, and also teach how to respond to a nickname. If you would like to get yourself such a little one, write in the comments. But who is unlikely to be able to have at home unless you live on some kind of farm? So this is Tokina. Remember the myth about the golden fleece? So according to legend, this is the golden fleece Jason got from Tokin. The locals also call this bull more briefly, Kin. I wonder what the reaction of the ancient people was when they first met this creature. It's like it's all assembled from scraps of different creatures. Its head there is a tail from a bear, from an elk, and the limbs are like a mountain goat. The body personally reminds me of the body of a bison, and, as scientists say, in the relatives of the kin, in addition to everything, there is also a muskox. In general, this is not an artiodactyl, but some kind of cocktail of everything. Despite its beautiful and stately appearance, the takin species mainly feeds on leaves. The giant's menu includes moss and leaves of the dendron genus and tree bark. Fortunately, the metabolism allows it to digest all this, but the most favorite thing is bamboo leaves, a delicacy for which the Tokinis is able to overcome a 2-meter height. In addition, Kin doesn't particularly like messes. As soon as he sees some kind of danger, the giant prefers to lie on the ground and stretch his head, pretending to be dead. No, he doesn't let everything take its course. Kin knows how to listen to all the vibrations from the ground. This way he will have time to orient himself, and if something happens, to avoid an attack or fight back. Probably because of this, the animal prefers to live in the mountains, where there are many stones on which you can knock, and if something happens, warn relatives. It's funny that the cubs of these animals from an early age try to repeat everything after their elders. Apparently, they have responsibility in their blood. It turns out that the cub constantly wants to learn, and the older ones do what they are stuffed with and completely lose interest in him, giving him over to the care of the nanny. Yes, in the herd, there is always one female nanny raising the younger generation. By what criteria she is appointed is completely unclear, but this is so, and no one has anything to do with it. Bet Rhinopithecus. No, well then this Rhinopithecus will just continue to do his own thing, and you watch him from the outside. Just don't be embarrassed by nature. No one remains indifferent to this monkey. A monkey from China spends most of his time in the trees, going down only when absolutely necessary. In the event of force majeure, a group of monkeys soars up to the nearest tree with lightning speed and climbs up the trunk as high as possible, constantly striving to be as high as possible. Rhinopithecus does not disdain life in the mountains. However, in pure mountain conditions, where the cliffs of blindness begin, they do not go. Such an unusual color of Rhinopitheco needed not only to surprise people, but also to keep warm in cold times in the winter. Rhinopitheco has to eat pine bark and various lichens in the summer, but in the summer, the monkey's menu is richer, which already includes leaves and shoots of young trees, and fruits, seeds, and flowers supplement the monkey's diet with necessary elements. By the way, did you know that Pitheco urine is considered a delicacy? The females of these cute monkeys constantly quarrel, but Mother Nature helped them find a common language. The same beautiful wool that requires care helps with this. And since it is not very convenient to take care of it personally, calling someone for help makes the care procedures both a means of communication and a special ritual that brings the whole monkey up. Rhinopitheco's pregnancy lasts about 7 months, after which these handsome babies are born, which the mother will feed in the coming year. When provisions around little breastfeeding can last longer, cubs are usually protected by the entire monkey troop. An interesting feature of these Asian monkeys is that they constantly keep their cubs in the center of the group so that the elders are at the edges. This is an excellent method of protecting the younger generation from a sudden threat. Capybara is the name of the rodent that sees through everyone differently. These cute creatures are called capybara, and you can find them in South America. There they inhabited almost all tropical and temperate zones of the continent. In addition, there is one clear feature in their life. Capybaras never go further than a kilometer from bodies of water because water for them is both the main source of vitality and a way to cool off in hot weather and at the same time shelter from predators. In the latter, water pigs are helped by their ability to swim. Thick, hard fur consists of waterproof hair. Membranes between the fingers form additional grip, and the brick-like muzzle does not interfere with the dynamics. Oh yes, how could I forget about their main advantage? High-set eyes and nostrils allow rodents to breathe and see everything around while their body is completely hidden by water. Having such opportunities by nature, not to live in reservoirs, would be simply a crime. Having left their almost native aquatic environment, capybaras lead a quite measured lifestyle. They are in no hurry. They eat grass and gobble up algae, and the capybara's nutrition is a separate form of art. The fact that they regurgitate food several times and chew it again, they also adore their natural secretions. In short, not a single calorie, not a single useful thing will pass them by. They take everything from life. But the main feature of the capybara, I would call their ability to distinguish friends from enemies. Scientists cannot explain this, but animals sense who wants to harm them and who is completely safe. How do you think they manage to do this? And this is an African animal that, both at a young age and as an adult, weighs about 1 kilogram and seems simply tiny. What attracts us most about this fox is her ears. They are excellent at catching even the smallest rustles. Precisely thanks to her ears, the phoenix hunts very successfully in the dark. What's surprising is that even though this animal is not famous for its size, it can jump almost 15.5 m in length. And despite its short legs, the phoenix can accelerate up to 32 kilometers. This fox feels the high-frequency cold immediately as soon as the temperature drops below 20 degrees. This cutie belongs to primates just like lemurs or monkeys. However, their appearance differs significantly from their relatives, the primates of Madagascar. They have open arms, almost like the cat from Shrek. They have always surprised eyes, but the arms can surprise not only with their bulging eyes, they are also famous for their ears. They say they have the largest ears among all primates, and it is not so much their size that is interesting, but rather that the eye's ears are able to focus even on the subtle movement of larvae and insects in tree trunks. It would seem that they have unique eyes, incomparable ears. Maybe that's enough to surprise, but no, Mother Nature added something else to them. Ever-growing teeth, which is why the bakers are constantly grinding them down. Next, we have another amazing animal. Only this time it arrived from Central America. It seems as if it is the most ordinary pig, really. It turns out that these animals separated from pigs as much as 50 million years ago. The animals acquired a complex 3-chamber stomach, an odorous gland on the back, and very strong triangular fangs. In addition, they almost do not eat meat, just give them roots, nuts, or mushrooms, and the hunting skills of peccaries only enough to turn around someone's nest or the edge of some lizard. You can consider them incompetent, but the baby peccaries are on their feet the very next day. Not even months pass before they separate from their parents and go on independent journeys. The average life expectancy of these animals in captivity reaches 24 years old. And that's all. Write in the comments which cub you were able to learn the most about. And thank you for watching.